Hi, I'm Pádraig Maguire and I am a Senior Solutions Architect here in Triangle. So this is the first in a series of Q&A style videos where we focus on VMware's hybrid cloud solutions. Now, where each video will cover a different aspect of that solution, and I'll be joined in each one by an expert from VMware or from one of their public cloud partners, where they'll give us their thoughts and insights, and we'll dig a little bit deeper into the solution itself in relation to that public cloud. Our main aim here is to help you as a VMware customer to better understand hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, some of the complexities associated with each, and what VMware-based solutions are available to help address some of the challenges that you meet when you go into these architectures. We'll also look at how you consume and how you integrate with these solutions. And then from an operational perspective, how do you manage it all? How do you keep everything under control? I hope you find these videos informative and a useful aid in your cloud journey. If you want to find out any further information or you'd like to dig a little bit deeper, please don't hesitate to contact us. You'll find us at www.triangle.ie and on all the usual social media platforms. So I'm delighted to be joined today by VMware's Global Cloud Strategy Director, Mr. Richard Munro. Richard, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining us. Could you maybe introduce yourself and tell me a little about your role within VMware?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I'm really lucky. I've spent the past 10 or so years working with lots of customers, predominantly around their app and cloud transformations, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and that's from a technical business and process perspective, and really bringing that back into VMware and making sure our solutions are aligned to help them with those challenges and really accelerate the outcomes they're trying to achieve.
We're here to talk about cloud. It's been around for quite a while now. So I suppose I'm curious, or I'm interested in what is driving cloud adoption in today's terms, and has that changed much over the last 10 years?
So, one of the big drivers has obviously been the pandemic. People really have been forced into making lots of changes to their business model. Everything from internally, where their workers are connecting from, through to how they engage with their customers. Every business is really looking at ways that they can modernize themselves, reinvent themselves, and that modernization is going to be driven by applications. And as soon as we start talking about applications, we're talking about cloud.
We're going to be focusing on hybrid and multi-cloud today. So would you mind if I ask you for your definition of hybrid and multi-cloud? There are a few out there, so I'm curious as to how you define the hybrid and multi-cloud and what the difference is between the two.
Put it its most simple, it's where you are consuming resources, and that could be infrastructure, services, applications, from more than one cloud provider. And I even have emails. I had one the other week from somebody that said, we are 100% AWS, and they sent me that email from an Office 365 account. So, everyone is just in that multi-cloud reality. Hybrid cloud is like a massive subset of that multi-cloud reality, and it's where the resources that you have, whether that's infrastructure capacity, data, etc., are spread across more than one of those cloud destinations, but you have a very, very deep level of consistency. So you're managing them effectively as if they're one pool of resources, where you can move applications back and forth between them, with no re-architecture, no downtime. That's really what the hybrid cloud is, but it is a subset of this multi-cloud reality we all have. If you allow that multi-cloud reality to exist in silos, then you have to deal with the fact that you're going to effectively reproduce entire operating models for each of those services, and you're not building anything in to show how they're going to work together. That consistency of security policies, networking policies, that's a classic example of, if you add complexity in that space, no matter how good each individual solution is, if you don't have consistency, you have complexity, and complexity is one of the largest causes of risk, right? So that you can leverage all these services, but you've got that control of a core of consistency where it matters.
VMware has put some partnerships in place, or established partnerships with some of the big key public cloud vendors. Could you talk to me a little bit about that and about why you've taken that approach and what the aim is there?
Yeah, I mean, I think also let's not forget that every major player in the cloud and apps industry has also chosen to strategically ally with us. IBM were first, a long-standing great partner. They really saw the vision very early, and they stood up the VMware Cloud services within IBM Cloud. Then we made a big announcement with AWS, where you can now have VMware Cloud on AWS, which is that VMware Cloud service co-located in an Amazon data center with all those back-end integrations. So if you need to use, say, AWS RDS with some of your existing applications, you don't have to refactor all of that. We can co-locate those things right next to each other with very deep back-end integration, so you can just apply that service benefit to your existing app. And then Microsoft as well, another fantastic partner. They run a first-party Azure VMware solution. Same principles, is your hybrid cloud extended into the Azure data centers with integrations into native Azure services. And the list goes on. There's Google, Ali Cloud, Oracle, and many, many more, which is fantastic. So it's really created this very ubiquitous solution, which you can now have in any of the cloud services that you wish to be using.
Tell me a little bit about what use cases are coming to the fore in terms of customers engaging with putting, say, or extending their SDDC into the public cloud.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many use cases, as you can imagine, but they tend to fall into two camps. So some are more infrastructure based. There's many organizations for all sorts of reasons who are looking to move workloads into those public clouds, and to do that as fast as possible. Some of those reasons are shifts in CapEx and OpEx prioritization. Sometimes it's to get that service integration we're talking about. Sometimes it's because workforces have changed and they're trying to release real estate really fast so that they can close down data centers and things like that. Whatever the reason, this is something that used to take us years to get workloads out and applications out of a data center and over somewhere else. It used to be a monumental effort, a huge scale effort that would take years with lots of cost, risk, and service disruption. You can now do that in weeks. And we have people doing that. Thousands of applications moved in weeks, very simply, and without downtime to the application even. So really changed the game. Another example is DR services. Cloud is such a natural way of saying, for disaster recovery, I need resources, but only when I need them, like if I'm actually in a disaster, and I don't want to be paying for that the rest of the time. The other advantage, of course, of that is that you can test it whenever you like as well. And that's really, really important. We often haven't been testing our disaster recovery. We kind of cross our fingers and hope it all works. You don't need to do that anymore. Those cloud services are readily available. The other side is really focused on the application modernization. And this is where people are really taking an intelligent view of their app portfolio and are deciding which applications to modernize. There are different pathways for different applications. There's different things you want to do, whether it's rehost, refactor, retire it, replace it with SaaS. And these services really help you put different applications down the best path for them, but maintaining consistency so that they still integrate with, still work with everything else that's not following the same path. There's been a huge maturing of everybody's understanding and expectations around cloud transformation. In fact, in the US market, we all had this badge of cloud first for everything. There's a trend in the US market where they actually say cloud smart, and that's about choosing the right place for the right workloads at the right time. And I like that more, actually. So everyone has learned so much.
What do you see as the minimum I need in order to be private cloud capable? And then what do I really need to have in place and to have a good understanding of to consider myself private cloud operational?
I do have some people who tell me they're running a private cloud and they haven't virtualized the network or something like that. That's not a private cloud, right? It has to be highly automated. I would also challenge the second thing about, if I went to visit your internal customers and asked if they had the freedom to consume the resources in a way that best fits their business need, what would they say? So it's really important not just that you develop the operational capability of a cloud, but that you set it up for consumption.
There's multiple solutions in VMware's hybrid cloud portfolio. You can go from a very component-oriented approach and layer up, or you can go with the out-of-the-box, all-in-one hybrid cloud ready, private cloud ready even solution. Can you tell me a little bit about those options and how they fit in terms of what a customer wants to do?
Yeah, so VMware Cloud Foundation is really like a packaged implementation of everything you need to run that hybrid cloud. So it's what you see running you don't run it yourself, but it's what you see running and you consume within, say, VMware Cloud and AWS or Azure VMware solution. You can completely build it yourself. You can get the individual product pieces, build your own version of it. So NSX and vSAN and vSphere, vRealize, you can build all those bits yourself and run it internally. You can get it as a converged HCI stack, so VxRAL or something like that. That's where you're not building it, but you're still going to manage it and run the applications on it. You can even have it as a service, so deployed in your data center or edge location. This is something like VMware Cloud on Dell EMC, but it's actually run and managed for you. So now all you care about is much more like VMware Cloud and AWS. All you now care about are the applications that you're running on it. The point about these options, because it does seem so many options for these things, but it goes with our slogan of any. What that really means is, we're enabling you to use any technology that you need to get the job done, whether that's inside your data center, whether it's in public cloud, etc. And the crucial thing about that is that the solutions will meet you where you are. There's a lot of ivory tower thinking in the cloud industry, where it just assumes you can throw everything away, you'll spend tons of effort refactoring or whatever. We don't think that way. We want to give a set of incremental steps that anyone can take that give you big ROI for each of those steps and that are constantly progressing you towards your goal, whatever that may be, and will take you as far as you need to go. The other really important part about that is that we have completely integrated this cloud transformation and app transformation piece. So that same VMware Cloud Foundation is actually been completely rewritten to be based on Kubernetes. And what that means is that those modern applications, containerized applications and so on, they will also run on the same cloud foundation that you're running your existing services on, and that this isn't a layering on. They will run as a best location for them to run with everything they need. And that's really powerful as well, because people will want those incremental step changes in their app transformation just as much as their cloud transformation.
So in terms of hybrid and multi-cloud deployments out there, can you give me some examples where it hasn't worked as expected, or where customers have, where, I won't say failed, but have fallen down in terms of their targets in terms of multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, and why it hasn't worked?
I think it's just when people have approached cloud with the wrong objectives. So most of the time, and you hear these repatriation stories sometimes, all it really is where usually when somebody has tried to force the wrong workloads into the wrong cloud location. So the workloads don't match the cloud location, and so they need to kind of backtrack over that. I see that happening less now because people are far more mature in their understanding. The other one is when people take those first steps of moving to a cloud, but then they insist on keeping their legacy operating processes around it. So they're not extracting the value. And in some cases, despite all the opportunities afforded them now that they're on a cloud, they actually end up spending more to run the same thing, just because they didn't change some of those processes.
Yeah, so if somebody watching this video wants to find out a little bit more about this stuff and to delve a little bit further and into more detail about hybrid cloud and multi-cloud and what options are available, what would you suggest as the best approach for them?
So there's a whole ton of information, demos, trials, etc., obviously on the VMware website. So I'd have a look at that, understand Cloud Foundation, understand Tanzu, which is the application service, understand more about the cloud maturity model. So all the information you need is there. But we've mentioned a few times about maturity of experience, and honestly, my best recommendation is just start talking to somebody who knows what they're doing about what it is you want to achieve. The best way to do that is that partner network that we've talked about here. Look for the cloud master competencies in that partner, and they're able to bring all the intimacy of knowledge that they have, all their additional skill sets, so that you're not just learning about the technology we have, but you're learning best practices about how that could be applied in your situation. And if you want more recommendations than that in finding a partner with those competencies, I have one right in front of me here with Triangle. So that's my, I think just that conversation first. What is it you're trying to do? Have that conversation with somebody who can help you.
Tell me where everything's going. So say in the next 5 years, where do you see things?
Yeah, that's always a fun question. I actually think it's fairly clear. So, we will continue to see the acceleration of app and cloud transformation. That's just a done deal for me. I think when we talked a lot about these capabilities here and how we're making so many things much, much easier, there's a lot of AI that goes into some of those tools. It's about having highly capable tools and having the intelligence to automate things in value-driven ways. So the increasing democratization of AI is steamrolling onwards. And one of the most interesting areas that I think we'll be seeing that over the next 5 years, it's something we're heavily focused on, is distributed applications out to edge locations. It's a big topic, so I won't go into everything that we mean by that now, but we're really seeing a decentralization of processing right now, and the use cases around edge are very, very exciting, and I think that's where we'll see a big growth area.
Okay, well listen, Richard, really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for giving us those insights, and we'll talk again hopefully.
Yeah, hope maybe about edge. It's been great to be here. Thank you so much.